If you've ever been at a party or a gathering of friends or some kind of a social situation, I'm sure you've heard of what's called the icebreaker. Where we have to ask a question and everybody has to answer. Like, what are your 3 favorite movies of all time? Everybody kind of gives a chance to break the ice, get people talking about something, and get people a chance to know each other. And one icebreaker that I've always really liked is, what is the saddest song, or what are the saddest songs that you know? It's very interesting the reaction you get. I did once on my mailing list that I have through my website, tjrmusic.com. I did once ask my mailing list, what is the saddest song you know? And I said, please, write in and tell me. And I was floored by the number of responses I got, and by the variety of responses I got, from very serious confessional stories related to songs to people just joking around saying, I think one person said the saddest song he knew was Minnie Riperton's Loving You, because of the high pitch, hurt his ears, the high pitched notes. I love that song personally, but I got that he was just joking around.
Yeah, exactly.
He said the high pitches were so high that it made him fall off his chair or something like that. But I think this is an interesting topic here, and I think it's a great one that I'd also, before this video is over with, is ask our viewers, what is the saddest song you know and why? What is the story behind that? And sometimes it's because maybe we relate to a certain experience. The song makes us think about something. Other times, I think there's just sometimes something abstract about the way the music sounds that makes you feel sad. For some reason. So I'm just going to ask this. We haven't discussed this before going on camera or anything. And I'm just going to ask. So when you think about that question, what is the saddest song you know, or what are the saddest songs you know? What comes to mind?
Yeah. Well, because I'm going to answer you definitely, but I think there's the obvious ones that you think of, like the Beatles' Yesterday or She's Leaving Home, but those are almost so part of your, you've heard them so many times. I don't know if they have the profound impact when you've heard them your whole life. So I'm going to think outside the box and not go for the ones that you would generally think about. Probably there's 2 that immediately come to mind. One is Niels Lofgren. It's probably a song that not a lot of people know about. It's called Shot at You. And there's something about the sparseness of the guitar. There's not a lot of chords as I recall, but it's just something. He's being very vulnerable. Here's a guy that's played with Neil Young, and he's played with Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band, but he's sounding very human, like like someday I'm going to be able to get you. Like if this happens in my life, this happens in my life, and it's just very. You're like wondering if he's really going to get that person.
What do you mean get that person? Like
romantically is what
romantically,
I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm saying about romantically. Like I think there's a line where he said, well, I don't even want to say because I may misquote the lyrics because, like I said, we haven't really discussed this. But he's just in there talking about. I think there's a line even where he talks about him being so short and she's so fine or something like. Just. He's like finding maybe reasons why he can't get her, but at the end of the day, you're saying, maybe love will win out and he will get her. It's just a beautiful, and like I said, it's just very beautiful and quiet. It's not, it's not overly dramatic. It's not cliched or anything. It's just very, very sincere. The way he has delivery and then at the end is just a long instrumental thing with him just playing that beautiful, beautiful guitar work. It's just a beautiful song. What? How about you? What's a song that really comes to mind for you?
It's funny. You talk about songs that are part of the collective consciousness that we've all heard over and over again, and this leads into the first song that I would want to talk about here. There is, of course, everybody's heard "Cats in the Cradle,"
right?
But we've all by Harry Chapin. Everybody knows that song. And during my years as a musician, professional musician, playing like restaurants and coffee houses and any place that would basically pay me to show up and play, I had my repertoire of huge repertoire of songs that you knew everybody liked. And you played those songs because that's what you got paid for.
Right.
And one of those songs was, of course, Cats in the Cradle. And I was always struck by the way, when I would do that song, how many times I would see grown men suddenly just stop.
Wow.
Whatever the conversation, whatever else they were doing, maybe put down their newspaper, if I was in a coffee house, or if I was in a restaurant, just stop, and they would just kind of like listen, just stop their conversation and listen to that song, and how strongly it affected adult males.
Yeah.
And I thought, obviously, there's been a lot of disconnect between sons and their fathers.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, now a song in a similar theme to that. Now, of course, once again, "Cats in the Cradle." It's a powerful song.
Very powerful song.
It hit me powerfully when I was
timeless too. What it says.
Very powerful song. But of course, it's like yesterday. It's such a huge part of the collective consciousness.
Right. It is. Yeah.
That we hear it so much that maybe it loses some of its impact.
Yeah.
For that reason, there was a song by Mike and the Mechanics, "In the Living Years,"
Yeah.
which is about a song about a man who is seen, talking about the disconnect between him and his father. And the song is taking place after his father has passed away. And he sings about how there were so many things I wished I had told him. There were so many things I wished I had said. I just wished I told him in the living years. And then in the chorus, he warns the listener. He says, he sings, and this song was a hit on the radio. He sings, say it loud, say it clear. You can listen as well as you hear.
Yeah.
Don't just hear, listen.
Listen.
Listen to what you're, and the song is, when I hear that song, I can really just feel the emotion well up inside of me. I am almost brought to tears by it. I'm sometimes I am brought, not almost, but I'm brought to tears. Just thinking about the song makes the emotion well up inside me and almost makes me want to just start bursting out in tears. And I think why is because there was a point in my life where that's almost what did happen. There was a big disconnect between me and my father, and that almost did happen to where it could have happened to where we may not have said what we needed to say. We may not have reconnected later in life. Thankfully, that's not what happened. We did connect later in life. We did put aside our differences. We did come back together, and we did understand each other. Thankfully, that did happen. But I look back on that song makes me think of what almost did happen. And I feel for what the character is saying in the song. I associate with it, but I also become extremely grateful that it didn't turn out that way. And so that is one song that I find, is very sad, very powerful, almost brings me, can bring me to tears, not almost, but can bring me to tears when I listen to it. And it's just very emotionally powerful on so many levels. Is that one right there?
Wow.
So there we go.
Keep rolling. Those are some pretty powerful songs, and so many come to mind. And part of it might be because of the performers. Part of it might be the subject matter. It could, whatever it is. Another one, and I thought about it too. Is I just love Johnny Cash's version of "Hurt."
Okay.
And I think
I love it too. But
and even though, but for a while, again, it was one of those songs you kind of heard it everywhere. But I wonder if it's almost like because you can. You hear his mortality. You can see that this is somebody on death's door. Not to be too morbid, but I mean, he obviously knew he was struggling to stay alive and stuff. And it is. There's something about that song where it kind of captures, that no matter how young you are, how healthy you are, eventually you're going to do the same. We're all going to go to the same end here. Life is going to catch up to you. And I think that song, that's a pretty powerful thing because that's something, regardless of what time in history you lived, where you live in the world, doesn't matter what your religion, what your gender, eventually we're all going to go home, kind of thing. So we're going to meet our end, and I think "Hurt" really captures that, with Johnny Cash's amazing performance. Obviously, he was not the singer when he did that song as he was in his younger in the '60s and stuff like that. But boy, is that an amazing vocal performance, and just. Very powerful, and it's a very sad song. I mean,
and the instrumental arrangement really accompanies it. And of course, this was of course originally a Nine Inch Nails song.
Yeah, it was.
And the song originally was dealing with drug addiction. I hurt myself today to see if I can still feel. And it's about being so destroyed by drugs that now you just hurt yourself just to see if you can still feel something. But within the context of Johnny Cash performing it, it becomes I hurt myself today because it's more about. That you're so physically sick.
You're so physically
because
worn out.
You are complete. Your life is flowing out of you, and you're physically sick now. And so you're at that end of life, and so it's more about that now. The way even though the lyrics have not been changed in any way. because of his performance, because of where he is in his life.
In his life, exactly.
You know?
And it's a very, very powerful. Yeah, and it's a song that occasionally I just pull out the CD and I just have to listen to it again. Maybe I haven't heard it for a while, but it's one of those songs that it does come back and is very haunting. You know?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
It's a tremendous performance.
Yeah, tremendous performance. And it's funny, we may have mentioned this in the show, but people forget Johnny Cash was obviously had some hits and stuff, but there was a while where he was playing like the country fair circuit or this and that, and he was not that well regarded when he had this renaissance late in his life.
Yeah.
It's like it also came kind of at a tremendous cost. Both him and his wife were very ill, didn't have that long, but yet he turned these profound performances in, and there's a lot of good things that he did at the end there with Rick Rubin. Were a lot of great performances. But that song, I think, kind of captured what he was going through and kind of the musical world at large, rediscovering Johnny Cash and embracing him, again, which was so well deserved.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so I'm going to bring up another one now.
Yeah.
And it's actually a Beatles song, not one of the most well-known ones. It's from the Revolver album, For No One.
Great song.
And your day breaks, your mind aches.
Yeah.
There will be times when all your I'm trying to remember exactly when all your thoughts will think about her, something like that. Yeah. That particular song just deals with a guy who is still getting over a broken relationship. He say your day breaks, your mind aches, and you're still thinking about what went wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, it's about the realization that she moved on.
Yeah, she moved on.
And in her eyes, you see nothing. No sign of love behind the tears cried for no one. A love that should have lasted years.
Yeah.
And I guess
a beautiful song.
I relate to it a lot, and it's just got that simple that piano, doom dun dun dun, doom dun dun dun. That simple little waltz piano line, while McCartney sings, "Your day breaks, your mind aches," there are times when all her words of kindness linger on when she no longer needs you.
Yeah, beautiful lyrics and beautiful music. Yeah,
and I think it's because I went through that.
Yeah.
I had this relationship. I thought it was going to last forever. I thought we were going to get married. I thought we were going to be together forever, and then it ended.
Yeah, then it ended.
Very unexpectedly, it ended. Very unexpectedly, it all kind of fell to pieces, and for a long time I wondered what went wrong.
Yeah,
and it took me a while to move on. And she moved on.
Yeah.
And to me, that song still just like sends this kind of silent roar through my head. I'm not brought to tears, but I'm made to feel very melancholy when I hear the song. And for a long time, that song just so reflected what I went through with that. And so
I think great songs do have this versatility, where they kind of it might be about the songwriter talking about his personal experience or her personal experience, but we all relate to it because it's something we've all gone through. Like we were saying with the Johnny Cash song, we're all getting older, or we know people that are getting older, and we've lost loved ones, and at its best, I think music brings us together because it gives us some kind of shared experience.
I think it also gives us catharsis as well.
Yeah.
When I listen to In the Living Years, and if I'm brought to tears by it, it's cathartic. And when I listen to For No One, and I think about that relationship, I think it helps. It's very therapeutic, in my opinion. I know people, they say they don't want to see something, listen to something that's sad because they don't want to feel sad.
Yeah.
To me, I personally want to go through that emotion through that song because it helps push it out of me.
Yeah.
And I have a third song I want to talk about.
Okay.
That I want to talk about. But first I want to give the floor to you.
Okay.
To see if you want to talk a song before I do, because the reason I like that third song, I listened to it at a very difficult time in my life, and I listened to it over and over again. I was actually a kind of a glutton for punishment because I knew it was going to bring me to tears, but because I needed to therapeutically move through that emotion.
Yeah.
But first, though, I want to see if you have anything else, any other song you want to
there's
talk
a lot
about,
of. It's funny because as we've been
something.
talking, things are racing in. But I'm thinking, there's a number of Bruce Springsteen songs.
Really?
So I'll just maybe touch on the titles. But I'm thinking Downbound Train. Even though I didn't go through that experience like he did, that whole thing like you're saying about, that whole thing like you're doing your best, but things can go wrong. I had a job, I got laid off. It impacted a relationship. A lot of things that Springsteen over the years has talked about. He's such an amazing songwriter, and how he can bring and I don't think he's done much other than be a musician. I don't think he's worked at car washes or been a mechanic and stuff.
Yeah.
That, as far as I know, my understanding is he's been a professional musician since he was
Yeah.
a teenager or something like that. But yet, I think he's a good observer of the human experience. And so many of his songs, whether it's from the '70s or from today, like even songs like about 9/11 on the Rising, he just really gets it. And there's so many of his songs that I've been able to relate to. Downbound Train is one, Thunder Road. I mean, so many of them, and they just and a lot of times there is sadness in his songs, even though there's also an anthemic spirit. And there are times I just have to put on a Bruce Springsteen album, to I think tap into what we've been talking about here.
Okay.
But I know you said you have a third song.
Well,
you
I'm going to
mention.
talk about it. And I mean, I guess there's lots of songs we could talk about.
Oh, yeah.
And lots of people have shared their experiences with me on a song as well. But one song that hit me, it was just kind of, it's a mixture of the timing of when I heard the song, that it came at the time in my life when I heard it, and what the author was going through when they wrote it and recorded it. The song, of course, Warren Zevon. Recorded his last album while he was suffering from cancer.
Right, he was dying.
And while he was dying from cancer.
Yeah.
And there is a song on that album called "Keep Me in Your Heart."
Yeah, beautiful song.
And
I know it.
where he's basically singing to his wife, before he passes away, saying, I'm going to be gone soon. And the title, the chorus is "Keep Me in Your Heart for a while."
Yeah.
And it's hard for me to even sometimes just to verbally talk about. I'm feeling it hard to even verbally talk about the song right now, as we're doing this. I hope I don't get too emotional, but there's a line in the song where he says, basically he's just saying, I hope after I'm gone, once in a while you can just think about me.
Yeah.
From time to time.
Yeah.
While you're just doing things around the house.
Yeah.
And it at the time that happened. At the time I heard that song, I was losing a very good friend to cancer as well.
Yeah.
And he was, he was passing away.
Yeah.
And so after he passed away, I found myself, like I said, being this glutton for punishment.
Yeah.
Listening to the song
Listening
over
to
and
the
over
song,
again. And a friend of mine was saying to me, well, why are you putting yourself through this?
Yeah.
I said, because I have to. It's letting me get all the sadness out of me.
Yeah.
It's letting it
Pretty
push
powerful,
through me
TJ,
and push it through me
Very
and just
powerful,
just keep going through it.
Yeah.
I remember I had a girlfriend who said she was going through therapy. She was going through therapy, and she said, she was offered medication to help her deal with her sadness, her pain, and she said, no, I don't want the medication. I'd rather just work through that. I'd rather feel all these feelings than have to have medicine cover it up for me.
Yeah.
And so for me, listening to that song over and over again was just simply, that was the therapy.
Yeah.
That was the therapy to just get through that emotion and just keep. It was kind of like almost, this is probably a crude term, but vomiting that emotion up.
Yeah.
Just until you finally have passed through it.
Yeah, exactly.
And to this day, that song is still just, like I said, I mean, the song came at just the right time, and he was going through what my good friend was going through.
Yeah.
And so that song, "Keep Me in Your Heart," by Warren Zevon, "Keep Me in Your Heart for a while" was just tremendously necessary in my life, and was just a tremendously powerful experience.
Yeah. And I think almost everybody, as you go through something profound in your life, and like here we're talking about sadness, but if you go through difficult times, if you're a person that loves music, you're going to gravitate towards certain songs or certain artists, and they're going to help you get through that, hopefully. And it's well stated. And there are so many, and I think all the songs we've mentioned, probably other people have songs that do the same thing as these songs did to that we're talking about, have done for us.
There's that song by Elton John, sad songs say so much. And I've always said that only in music is sadness wonderful. Only in music is sadness wonderful.
Yeah, exactly.
I had a piano student I was working with. There was the 70s. This is weird to be putting this into this context, but the 70s Incredible Hulk TV show. That starred Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno as the Hulk. Odd that I should be saying this right here, but at the end of each episode there was this piano instrumental that played during the closing credits.
I remember it well.
Very beautiful, very sad, melancholy piano instrumental. It didn't even have any words, but it was so profoundly sad sounding. And I remember, and I said, now this is a very sad piano instrumental, and I played it for the student. He was just a kid.
Uh-huh.
And and he said, "Do you like this?" He said, "Yeah, it's really good." And I said, "It's from the Incredible Hulk TV show." And he was too young to even remember that show. So
right.
Incredible, he knows the new movies and stuff, the
exactly.
Avengers. And he was like, "The Incredible Hulk TV show? There was a TV show?" I said, "Yeah, there was a TV show in the 70s, and it had this very sad song that played at the end of each episode as our main character walked away into the distance, and as it played during the closing credits." And and so he really was excited to play it and learn it. And I remember his mother saying to me, he would play it all week long as he was learning it, and he would say, I would hear him, and it was just like, but his mother would say to me, "But it was so sad. I would be there doing housework while he was playing, and I want to just start crying. It was so sad sounding," without any words. It just was musically so sad sounding.
Oh yeah.
And I've always said, only in music is sad this wonderful experience, this beautiful experience that you want to keep living through.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Because in real life, it's not.
Yeah, you don't want to go through it in real life if you don't have to.
If you can help it.
Yeah, exactly.
But in music, I think that's the great thing, is that I think music can help us exercise those things. It can be the exorcist in that it exercises those demons out of you, those the grief, the sorrow, the pain, all
or
of that.
at least helps you deal with it.
By helping you deal with it.
Even if it's something that's unfortunate, the outcome, at least maybe it provides some comfort. Definitely. Yeah.
So anyway, this has been an interesting discussion.
Yeah.
And
a little bit different for us, I think.
Yeah, I know, but I think it's, like I said, this is an interesting, I think, conversation piece. Whether you're talking to a friend, whether you're talking to a group of friends, ask them, what's the saddest song you know? Or what are some of the saddest songs you know? And so at this point, I would like to ask the viewers, please tell us in the comments, what is the saddest song you know? And if you feel okay, tell us why. What is the saddest song you know? And I think this is one area where, like I said, this is a situation where I think, hopefully, if you've watched this video and you found it interesting, and hopefully people will comment, and please read the comments, and please start the conversation. I think this is an amazing conversation, and I think it really helps us explore the power of music. What is the saddest song you know? And so we'll just leave it at that. Till next time, I'm TJR. And
I'm Robert Kinsler.
Yeah. And just in case you weren't sure who we were.
Yeah, exactly. If we're not sure or something.
Thank you for joining us here today. Okay, what's the saddest song you know? Love to hear from you. Bye.
Bye.